Hello YouTubers, you are watching Just Do It Yourself channel, and today we have 2011 Cadillac SRX, and we will take a look at this service rear axle message, what it means for us. So in short, it means that most likely your rear differential is not engaging, and there could be a few reasons why, so we'll try to figure that out. So now let's take a look what pretty much everyone can do to at least start troubleshooting this issue. So we'll get under the vehicle, and here's your clutch, Haldex clutch. So basically what it does, it has a brain, and whenever brain tells that clutch to engage, it will engage your rear diff. So this clutch is filled with special fluid, and it's quite expensive. It's actually ridiculously expensive. For 1 liter here in Canada, I paid over $100 Canadian. Anyway, story not about the price. Though here's the level plug, and you will take it off to check the level in this clutch. If the level is too low, and it can happen that the fluid will seep through the seal into the rear diff, so in that case the rear diff will be overfilled, and here's the plug to check the level, and this will be low. So if the issue is in a low level, if you fill this up, your error should go away. To fill this clutch with the fluid, you will need to take this breather tube off and connect either a transfer pump or like a syringe to push the fresh fluid in. It's been stuck over there, so just over here. If you don't fill the fluids through this breather, you won't be able to fill it up as it's supposed to through the level plug. So use that breather tube to fill in the fluid. So I already done that. So I tried topping up the fluid. It took just very tiny bit. So it was an indication that that's probably not the cause of the error. But that will be the first step if you don't have a good scan tool. Since I do have the tool, I will check the fault codes on the rear differential clutch control module. There is one fault at this point. Of course, it's equipped if I'm checking it. So troubleshoot the codes, and you can see that we have current and historic all-wheel drive oil pump motor open. So in that clutch there is a hydraulic oil pump that creates pressurized oil, and that engages the clutch. So it seems like that motor either is blown or the harness is damaged and it's just not getting any power. So I already checked the harness is fine. So I went ahead and I bought this Dorman oil pump. So I will leave a link in the description to the video to this pump. You can get it on Amazon, half price of what it cost at the dealership. So here's the pump. So you can see there are 2 O-rings, pump itself, and the harness. So let's get it replaced. I guess another thing that I should have said, when you check the level, make sure that your vehicle is leveled. So I have the front on the ramps and the rear on the jack stands. So here's our pump and the harness that goes to it. Just 2 Allen bolts over here. Though this is sealed oil pump, so there are 2 O-rings that you already saw. So I'm assuming whenever we take it off, there will be a dump of clutch fluid, and it's super expensive. So if yours is relatively fresh, get clean container so you can catch it and potentially put it back. Alright, so before we remove the pump itself, we will need to disconnect the harness. And since we will be working with the electrical connections, we will go ahead and disconnect the battery in this car. So the battery is under this complex cover. So we'll just take 10mm wrench and remove the negative terminal. So to remove the first harness, it has this white lock, so we'll need to pry it out before we can actually pull the plug out. So now we can press this in and pull the plug out. So I'll need both of my hands over here, but you got the point. Alright, so the first plug is removed. The second plug, if you trace it, it goes all the way to the rear diff, and it is, let's try to shine the light, over there on top of the diff, so we'll need to get that removed too. Alright, so to get this harness off, it's probably the hardest part of this job. There's not much room. You can probably stick your hand over there, but it still won't help you much, since to get this unplugged, you need to, I'll show you on the new one, push this not down, but push it backward, and it would work nicely if you have room. But over there, the most I could have get, and I thought that it would work, basically I got a pick, put it in, and then pry it, put it in like that and pry it back, and was trying to pull, but it was not coming out, so I literally had to destroy it with a screwdriver, and then it came off. Then now it's behind those hydraulic lines, and that's another thing that, like with the old one we can definitely cut it, but the new one we will just route the different way. I'll just quickly show you this plug over here on the bench. So basically, to get it out, you need to pull this back, not down, but back, and there is a, just try to shine the light, a window inside. So if you come like that and pry it out, theoretically that should work, but in my case that was not enough, so I ended up breaking this piece, and after that need to basically break entire socket. Okay, so I have clean container underneath. I also have cleaned this all the way around, so there's not much dirt falls into that bucket. And to remove those screws or bolts, those are 4H4 Allen keys, and you will need a quarter ratchet with extension to get those out. There's not much room for any sort of impact to get them quickly out. So that's the bolt. Here's another one. This is a bit too long. Let's see if this will do the job. Alright, so those two bolts are removed. So now our pump should come off. It seems like we might need to use a screwdriver to pry it out. And there it is. Here we go, guys. Here's the old pump. Okay guys, here are two pumps, and just quick tip: if you don't have a scan tool and you still want to troubleshoot, so you can just test your pump for the resistance. So the new pump has exactly 6 ohms, and just by looking where your wires go, if you have your plug this way, it's 2 on the right. So right now it's showing around 7. So let's test the old one. So now I have my old one connected, and you can see that it's open circuit. So it just proves that the pump is bad, exactly what the scan tool told us. But if you don't have the scan tool, you check the level is fine. That will be the next thing to try, to check the resistance on your pump motor. Okay, so for the oil, you need this AC Delco 888-63350. It's $100 Canadian, and this is Canadian part number. I will leave in the description the part number for the US. Super expensive, so we don't want to waste it. But before we put this pump in, we will just put some oil on our finger and lubricate those O-rings, so when they go inside they seal well. Okay, so far very small amount of fluid came out, probably like 100 ml the most. So I have used a paper towel and cleaned everything from the inside, since we could see some nasty stuff was coming out. So now we will just push this pump back in. Oops. You need to pay attention so that the harness doesn't get pinched in between. There's very tiny room for it. Okay, it's good enough to start the bolts. So let me get those bolts tight. Okay, so the pump is in, those bolts are tight. Now before we go ahead and plug those electrical connections, we'll just put some dielectric grease in both. It's not a must, those are all sealed connections, but considering the location and how much moisture and dust gets on it, I think it's beneficial to add a little bit of dielectric grease. So we'll go ahead and start with the first one. Then you need to push this white block in, just like that, and then we will route the rest of the harness. Not sure if I will be able to show you much. I will try at least. Just get that camera set. So it goes kind of following this harness. Honestly, replacing the pump isn't bad job at all, but getting those wires around is just terrible. Oh my god. Now it's just stuck in here. Let's see if we can maybe get this out. Now should be easier to get this over. So the new harness, same kind as the old one, has this little connector over here. So we will push it in a frame, this plastic clip. Just like that. So now this one is greased well, so we will just put this big piece back in place until it clicks. So now we want to take this, and I'll try to show you. It came out just in this corner, because that's the only place where that plug would fit. If you try to go to your final destination right away, it just won't fit anywhere. So we got this through, and now we can take it up and to the plug. So now it's over there, I just need to stick my hand and push it in. Okay, this is kind of ridiculous, but there's not enough room to even put that plug back in. So I cannot imagine how you get the old one out. So let me see what I can do. So if I try from the top, it is slightly better. So let's see if I can get it in. Okay, somehow I got it in. Honestly, considering how much effort it is to get it out and then put it in, if I do it next time, I would probably just cut the wires and just 2 wires, make a good splice with a heat shrink, and forget about it. At one point I was ready to get those bolts loose and get this diff pushed back, because it was not just going in. So it's up to you, but me personally, I would just cut the wire somewhere closer to the pump where it's easy to work with. Use some butt connectors with the heat shrink and get it done 3 times as fast. So anyway, this is all connected. The pump is installed. Next thing, we need to fill it with oil. So to get this filled up, we'll need to remove this level plug, and this is H8 8mm Allen key. We'll get that out first. So this plug is out. Let's get the oil ready. So to fill up with oil, we'll use this type of syringe, and this should fit nicely on that bleeder port. Or I should say breather port. We're not bleeding anything, but just for the clutch to breathe because of the thermal expansion of the fluid. So we will try not to lose much, and we didn't drain a lot, so I would not expect it to take too much. At this point we have probably more than a half liter in this syringe, so let's get under it. Okay, so my syringe is connected to that breather, and I will start filling it in until I see fluid coming out of the level hole. Okay, so it didn't take much. It took probably the same amount that we drained, what kind of makes sense. So at this point we will start the vehicle, take it for a ride. We will obviously close the hole. We'll come back and check the level again. Alright, so after I started the vehicle, the rear axle service warning not showing up anymore. I haven't cleared the codes yet, so let's take a look at the scanner. So I have reread the codes, and you can see that right now it says history not current. So at this point I will clear the code, take it for a ride, and we'll check again. Alright, so after a short drive I had topped it up. Didn't took much, but considering the entire amount, it probably took around 10%, maybe 15 additional. Put the breather tube back in, get this tight, get everything washed so no leaks. So I just reread all the codes, and you can see that rear differential clutch control module, no faults. So I think we are done with this task. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Please check all the links for tools and parts that you will need for this job. And as always, just do it yourself.